Greetings, friends. Prepare for another thrilling journey as we delve into Reddit's most bizarre tales. We're plunging deep into the quirkiest corners of the web. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Remember to hit subscribe and like. Let's begin. We're currently going through a separation, and it's tearing me apart. I want so badly to get back together with her, but the horrible things she said and the things I've recently discovered have made me hesitant. I'm scared of going back to someone who could hurt me like this again. Our relationship started when she reached out to me on social media, and it quickly turned into a whirlwind romance with instant attraction on both sides. I moved in with her soon after to help take care of her since she has an illness that sometimes affects her physically, depending on what she eats or other factors. She told me she loved that I took care of her and that no one had ever done that for her before. A few months later, we got engaged and were married soon after. Before we got married, I remember an instance when we were having lunch in my car, and she suddenly exploded. Her face turned a reddish purple, her throat swelled up, and a big vein popped out on her forehead as she started screaming and yelling. I was shocked and thought, what the hell just happened? But it was the first time I'd seen her react that way, and I loved her. Part of me still does, though I'm constantly wavering back and forth. After we got married, things were mostly good, though we had our moments, especially due to financial stress and her being extremely religious. She believes the Bible is a historical record and denies the existence of dinosaurs or cavemen. We had more blow-ups, especially when I lost my job and she was the only one working. She would tell me about all her past partners and how awful they were to her, including her family, who didn't want anything to do with her. Her mom even told us during a phone call, when we tried to invite them to the wedding, that she wasn't right in the head. At that time, I loved her, so I brushed it aside. I had also worked for her family about 10 years ago, which is how she met me. Her non-biological mom has anger issues too. She had a few friends from high school, but mostly only knew people from work or those she met later in life. I never really had the chance to dig into her past with anyone. She told me she had severe anger issues growing up. She once stabbed her sister with scissors, used to beat her dog, smashed her nose into her steering wheel during a manic episode, and then glared at someone who witnessed it until they drove off, terrified. We've had arguments, and whenever she starts getting angry like that, I just don't want to be around her. Once, she balled up her fist and held it right by my nose. She's also joked that because she's so small, she could get away with murder since the court would sympathize with her. Recently, we've been growing distant, and I've been trying to talk about it and pull her back in, but she's been glued to her phone. Last week, I overheard her speaking in hushed tones in the bathroom, saying, "I just wanted someone to take care of me and love me." That broke me, but when she came out and started flying off the handle, I just asked if we could talk about it. She got even more irate, and with her sister still on the phone, she started yelling, "What do you want to talk about, huh?" I walked away because I refused to be disrespected like that. It's not that hard to have a conversation, and it's really not hard to just hang up the phone. I came back about 10 minutes later and tried to talk again, which led to a screaming match. I asked her to calm down and not yell, but she just screamed that it's not my house. At that point, my mom walked in trying to calm us down, and regrettably, I lost it and yelled at my wife to stop. I immediately realized how I looked and stepped back. She then told me she hadn't loved me our entire marriage, along with a bunch of other awful things, and then she left for a while. When she came back that night, we talked a little. I reminded her that we both agreed we wouldn't give up on our marriage. She said she wanted a separation so we could figure each other out, but still told me she loved me, just that she wasn't sure if she was in love with me anymore. Hearing that from your partner is absolutely devastating. She left the next day to talk with a family member, and when she came back that night, the first thing she said was, "Hey Daddy, I missed you." She also uses baby talk quite a bit, which I don't mind. I told her I missed her too, and I went to scoop her up in my arms, spinning her around the room. We passionately kissed then, and a few more times later that night while talking about our future and what it might look like moving forward together. She told me I needed to get a job and find us a new place to live, and I completely agree with her. I have a job interview tomorrow, so fingers crossed. Everything seemed fine when we went to bed that night. I fell asleep on the couch, but at some point, I decided to go and spoon her because physical affection has always been a big part of our marriage. I still had my boxers on and wasn't planning on taking them off. I just wanted to show her that I still cared and wanted to be close to her. But she freaked out and said she didn't want to be touched, so I left without any questions. The next morning, she told my mom she was scared and didn't want to get pregnant since she was ovulating. Honestly, sex wasn't even on my mind. I just wanted to start repairing the brokenness in our relationship. But that same day, she packed up her stuff and left. She's been staying with a friend ever since. At least I hope that's where she is. I did some snooping and found some posts from 16 weeks ago that hinted she was done with the relationship, even though she's made multiple gushy posts on her social media about us and about me. I'm at a loss as to where things started to fall apart, and now I'm starting to think she's in that monkey branching phase while we edge closer to what seems like an uncontested divorce. I keep telling her I want to make this work and that I can't give up on our marriage, but she doesn't really say anything in response. It's a terrible feeling knowing that I'll probably have to move on with my life, carrying all this new trauma, while she seems fine, unapologetic, and just makes demands for herself and our marriage. If I don't meet those demands, it feels like she thinks I don't care. She has a habit of buying things and seems to adapt her appearance and lifestyle to match the people she's either in a relationship with or sees as parental figures. She has extreme mood swings and can get so sad that I have to hold her up and console her while she sobs uncontrollably. She's resistant to taking medication and claims to have an illness, but when I suggest we get her tested, she says the tests aren't accurate and are too expensive. She's been through a lot of trauma in past relationships: physical abuse, sexual assault, being cheated on. A friend of mine knows her ex-husband, and he says she was crazy, which is why they split up. Her sister has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and also has very turbulent relationships. My wife has PCOS, and I've read that it's sometimes linked with borderline personality disorder, BPD. I could really use some advice. I think she might have undiagnosed BPD, but I'm not sure. I just want some opinions so I can figure out what my next move should be because at this point, I don't think there's any way I can get back with her and still believe she loves me, especially after everything she's said and done that contradicts her words.